There's actually two situations that I think we can look at to learn from our past experiences for the current one. One is that in some of the hurricanes, Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Katrina, what we saw were some public and private partnerships that really came together that accelerated aid to these areas in crisis. You see companies such as, especially down here in Texas, HEB, and which is a big grocery chain, Cisco food service company, Walmart, Costco, who are using their facilities at scale to be able to engage a redirection of the supply chain and a reordering of what they actually carry in stores. So I think the public and private partnership lessons are good. The other thing that we're seeing, and I think this is reassuring, especially when it comes to workforce considerations, is that we've had this idea that technology is coming along to really save the food system, among other systems. And I think that we're seeing now how much more development is required on those levels. We aren't seeing robots deliver food, right now. We aren't seeing personalized medicine right now, but we are seeing that humans are incredibly important and do have a place in feeding us and will in the future. And I think that's reassuring. And I think it's a great challenge for us moving forward as to how we integrate technology while still leaving the human face in our landscape.
One of the key issues for me, as far as drawing comparisons or the difficulty of drawing comparisons, certainly when you're talking about causes in the supply chain of an event like this, is that so much of the information about how food moves from source to consumer, from producer to consumer, over elongated value chains is closely held, particularly when you're talking about cold chain. It's very difficult to get information even about how much energy is involved in maintaining cold chain for, say, meat or fluid dairy, let alone the hygienic procedures for control of livestock, interaction of humans and livestock with wild animals. So these are all concerns that have arisen at various points over the past 20 years and received flare-ups of media coverage, but have failed to be addressed systemically. And they interface with the labor issues that the other panelists have raised, particularly because it tends to be marginalized, poorly paid communities who are most affected, both at the production and all along the value chain up to the point of distribution to the final mile.
So I'd say that, labor hasn't suffered from such an overarching crisis such as this one, but we do know that it's been vulnerable to political swings and volatile and politicized border policies for decades and even centuries. So during times of crisis that affect the food system, especially when there's a perceived labor shortage and a higher demand of food, which is in the context of wartime, really, when we've seen kind of such a similar crisis. What we've historically done is lowered labor and safety standards. So this was the Bracero program was born out of World War II labor shortages, or the perception that that people wouldn't go work in the fields. And what we actually are seeing is the same thing happening right now with the H-2A program, with the guest worker visa program. And we actually have seen the White House has called to lower farm worker pay during the crisis. This just happened again last week, as well as lowering the barriers to get cultural worker visas, which again, this is very dangerous and increases the vulnerability in the food system overall. So what we're seeing is some of the mistakes historically are being repeated right now in terms of food systems labor in the context of crisis.
Hi, I'm Robin Metcalf. I'm a professor at the University of Texas at Austin, and I'm the author of Food Roots.
I'm Josh Burson. I'm an anthropologist and philosopher, an alumnus of the Berg Gruen Institute, and the Max Planck Institute for Human Cognitive and Brain Sciences. And I'm the author of The Meat Question.
Hi, I'm Laura Ann Minkoff-Zern. I'm a professor in food studies program at Syracuse University, and I am the author of The New American Farmer, Immigration, Race, and the Struggle for Sustainability.